I have an idea, okay, to convert that into a product. Okay. Now that idea, how do I initiate it?
Everything is hypothetical until and unless it is being validated by your customer or a prospective customer. No, you are not building a product for yourself, right? You are building a product for someone which is solving their problem.
Of course, you look at all the other factors when you are designing the UX part, but location-wise also, you actually give it a thought in building the UX in it.
Absolutely, ma'am. So, there is no other option. It is not the way, we tune the way that, identify the way where we would be successful. If a particular product is being successful in India, what we typically look at is what are they doing and what are these items that are working for them. We need to start exploring it, copy it, mature it, implement it.
Hello, welcome to Casey Talks Career. It's so inspiring to bring such wonderful content to you from the corporate desk. Last time we had a podcast on leadership coaching and the challenges that we had. Today we have a wonderful guest, Mr. Ravi Daparthi. He's a serial entrepreneur with 14 plus years of experience only in entrepreneurship and product development. So today we want to focus majorly on product development areas. How can you initiate the ideas to product development? What are the POCs? How do you build MVP? And then what are the skills that are required? Where do you have challenges? How networking helps to sell your product? All these we have discussed. And the podcast turned out to be a very beautiful conversation. I hope you guys will also gain some insights into this product development. Your expertise and then discuss more on the product development today. We have, if you actually consider software, we have services as well as product, right? Your experience is majorly into product.
Yes, primarily yes. Yeah.
Okay. So if we have to talk more on how to establish a product organization, how to start from ideation to converting that into a product. So what is the actual initial process?
Okay, it all boils down to one thing, is what problem statement that you are considering and what problem statement that you are trying to solve, how effectively that you are solving, what are the scaling capabilities of it, what are the commercial aspects of it. These are the, 5 or 6 items that you need to keep in mind whenever you are, starting a product. That is one aspect of it. That is the starting point. And what is that is anticipated? What is that is expected in 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year time? Right? You need to have an absolute clarity in terms of what you are building. This is not something that you can wake up in the morning and you try to plan for the day. No, that is not how it works in the product.
Okay.
And the second aspect is your team. Team is the major factor in terms of building a product. So, and the longevity of the team. A product is like a very long train and a long journey, right? So, even if one wheel is misaligned, the whole journey goes for a toss. So, the team is extremely important. You see millions of ideas every day from millions of people, but very few gets materialized.
Yes.
Why? Because they have the right team and right planning in terms of what they are planning to achieve. And also your end goal. What is that you are planning? Probably many of these entrepreneurs might conflict with what I say, but you need to have a proper plan where you want to end this at some point of time, right? You want to exit out of this product and make money, and you want to start something else, or you want to build this product or company vertically. That is how your planning has to be. There are different directions how you can drive your product and company if you want to get an exit in 5 years time or 6 years time. That's a completely different way how you deal that. Now, if I want to build this company for a long term, right? I want to build this as a $1 billion company or $5 billion company. You need to strategically plan that. Building up that culture, or your planning, your roadmap, your partner ecosystems, and all of that.
Okay. So how do you? I have an idea. Okay, to convert that into a product. Okay. Now, that idea, how do I initiate it? In the sense, of course, you said these are the key points that you have to have in mind before you initiate it. Now, what is the first step that you do? Okay, you did that Om.
Right.
Now, after that, what do you do?
Okay, this is very very important factor. I have an idea, or whatever it is, whatever that is originated on, in your brain, right? Everything is hypothetical until and unless it is being validated by your customer or a prospective customer. No, you are not building a product for yourself, right? You are building a product for someone which is solving their problem, and you are
Yes.
assuming their problem, and you are assuming that this solution would solve their problem, and you are assuming that it would work. Everything is going by assumption, right? Until and unless these assumptions are cleared out and validated, you cannot, what we say, materialize all of this stuff. If you have an idea, first meet the industry experts for whom you are solving this problem.
Okay, before converting into anything, you have to meet the industry
Obviously,
experts.
right? So
Okay.
now I'm planning to solve a problem for a mechanical industry or a manufacturing industry. You are assuming it, right? Or you identified a particular problem while working there. You need to
Okay.
validate with different scenarios, not within this organization, in a different organization. Is it the same problem across all the manufacturing units, or is it something that I'm assuming that this would be for all the
Based on self
self
assumption.
assumptions, right? So get some feedback, get a 360 directions of all of this. Don't directly jump into building up a solution or a product. Build a POC, proof of concept, with the minimum resources, a working copy. Then validate that. Now I come to you, I'll explain an idea. I'm not sure whether you have understood my core crux of my idea or not. I'll give you a classic example. I'll come to you and say, ma'am, I'm building an animal. This animal will have four legs, one tail, two, no, two eyes, right? You say, yeah, wonderful animal. This is the animal that I'm looking for, kind of. You are
Okay.
expecting a cow, and I'm building a donkey. Okay,
Okay.
so neither of us are wrong. So you need to
Okay.
have a working copy. That is extremely important. That is exactly what Elon Musk also says. If you have a working copy, people can visualize and understand whether you are building the right thing or not. So it's a proof of concept. Once you validate it, then you go and get into the MVP, minimal viable product. It's a
Okay.
step-by-step
Yeah.
process that you need to follow, and every
Okay.
aspect of it. Now, what you are doing is you are validating and you are building. You are taking the feedback and you are re-evaluating the whole thing, and you are making your corrections, and you are building. You are taking the next step forward. So that is how it works. Once you are in MVP, then you get into the next stage of acquiring the customer, scaling it to the next level, building up your teams. If
Okay.
if you don't have money, go for the investors. That is
Okay.
the whole process that it will start.
Okay.
Not necessarily every time do you need POCs and all of that. Not necessary. There is no standard rule as such. So
Okay.
I identified, I validate, I know I worked for multiple industries. I don't need a POC. I can directly get into the MVP and do it. Okay. No, there are different ways of doing this one also. I don't want to go with minimal viable product. I have good amount of money. I want to invest good amount of time. Probably I can do building of the product for next 3 years. I don't want to touch anyone. I have enough money. I can build a full blown product and get into the market. That is one way of doing it. So it all
Okay.
depends on how you plan your product, your roadmap, and how you validated this idea, what level of expertise that you have, how your competitor ecosystem is. There are a lot of factors that needs to be considered.
Okay. When usually what we see is when we are doing the POC also, we try to see that we if there is a customer, okay, we'll try to take the data and inputs from them, their requirements, and try to do a POC. So if you don't have anyone as such, like can you still build the POC?
Absolutely. So you don't need to have a customer to have a POC. A POC is for the customer. Okay. So
Yes.
you can simulate the scenario. You don't need a customer data.
Okay.
You can simulate all that information, and you can build your POC. Not necessarily it should have all the real time data and all of that stuff. I'm talking about the software products, right?
Yes.
So you
Yes.
don't need to. You don't need to have a
Okay.
customer as part of the POCs, but it is always advisable, where you start with some pilot customers. Okay, so identify few pilot customers, work very closely with them. That boosts your confidence. Otherwise, you start building something which you have in your mind, not been validated by the industry, and because they are the ones who would be using this product day in and day out, their inputs extremely helpful in terms of shaping up your POCs or MVPs.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, when it comes to product development, usually services people take up with a minimum experience. But when it comes to product development, you need to know the in and out of it, the integration part, the front end, back end, everything. So, just somebody should have real time experience of a longer term or short term. How do you
Right.
validate that?
Uh, so the product development is a completely different mindset you need to have, right? So I don't differentiate services and product as such, but someone who have worked for 10 years or 12 years or or a period of time in services, if they need to work in a product kind of environment, they need to tune a lot of stuff. So the product is a long journey. As I said, I was assigned a task today morning and I completed the task by end of the day. I'm done. No, when I
Okay.
am given a particular task, or if I planned a particular task, what is the reason behind it? Who is using it? To what extent that they are using it? Whether the deployed feature is being used properly or not? If it is not being used, what is the market fit that we need to look at? Based on that, there are a lot of iterations that needs to be done. As a developer or a product manager or a validation manager, you need to understand right from the customer perspective. So that product mindset is extremely important. So when we are working in a service, it is a small chunk of things. You take it, you build it, and you give it, and your story ends there. Unless there was
Yes.
some other head who would be sitting on top of your head and they manage all of that stuff, right?
Okay.
So the product mindset is a completely different mindset you need to have.
Okay. So, as you said, there are a lot of iterations which are required. So, the product gets evolved, right, over the period of time. And we, at times, what we see is the product that what we imagined, what we had in our idea, would completely form into a different product altogether after many iterations. So, is this good? How do startup entrepreneurs or the product managers, how do they have to accept this? Because initially they thought the product should be like this, but it has to be consumable to the clients, right? So if it, how well it has to evolve, and what kind of mindset should people have to accept the changes?
Okay, so let's take this in two different perceptions. A perception from the product engineering standpoint, a perception from the customer, right? So I'm using Gmail. Gmail introduced around 15, 16 years back, I think. Are you comfortable using the same Gmail from last 15 years, whatever that they released on day one? If you are still using that, are you comfortable with that?
We definitely
No,
need
the
enhancements.
lot of enhancement that happens. You need change. Except wife, you don't want to see their the same thing every day, right? So market is evolving, technologies are evolving. There are a lot of automation that are coming up. Previously 15 years back, when you click on compose, it takes 1 minute to open that window. Right now, it takes not even a half a second to open it. There are a lot
Yeah.
of AI. Previously, you need to think and write an email. Now you have all
Yeah.
the AI functionalities there. You just with a click of a button, it is happening. Right? It is
Yeah.
good and it is adding value to you. As long as whatever mature functionalities or features that we are building in the product, as long as it is generating value factor to the customer, it is good. Okay. So from the engineering standpoint, it is the hardest decision that we need to take on any given day. Now I
Okay.
started with four functionalities or five functionalities. Product is very lean, simple. That is what we keep in our core. USPs, that it is very simple to use. Over a period of time, you start acquiring customers. Every customer has a different perception of running their business and using the product the way that they want it, right? They come up with their own changes. This is what I feel would be a value addition there. So, and you also feel from the product engineering standpoint, you also feel, yes, we need to have. Then what happens over a period of time, it slowly we pile up with lot of features. whatever you felt initially, as a USP becomes your burden there. You have a lot of functionality that has come up. The customer starts looking at your product as a very bulky one. They need to scramble between multiple screens to do a certain activity, which used to be very simple before. We have to be little
Okay.
cautious in terms of what is the roadmap for your product. You cannot satisfy each and every customer. Customer
Hmm.
is your god, customer pays your bill, but customer is not everything for you. Okay, so you have
Okay.
to be little cautious in terms of what you want to inject in your product. What would be your roadmap. You take a classic case of WhatsApp, right? So WhatsApp is same in last 10 years. Probably they might have introduced four or five features. Do you think WhatsApp is the best communication channel that we have in the market? No. There are thousands and thousands of apps that are available in the market which are much better than WhatsApp. They have certain strict roadmap that they follow. I don't want to make my app bulky because simplicity is the core USP of my product. That is why WhatsApp is ruling the market, right? So you
Yes.
need to
They're not making it more
yeah,
complicated.
yes. So it all depends on how you wanted to define the strategy of your product. Okay. So
Mm.
whether you wanted to go to
Okay.
the enterprise level or you wanted to be in small and medium enterprises, you need to strategize, right? So based on that, you need to. Now you take a case of some of these SAPs and all of that. They're huge
Mm-hmm.
systems, right?
Yes.
So no. I want to build a simple SAP system where I just wanted to have 3 or 4 screens and 5 buttons. That won't be suitable for enterprise.
Because the functionalities are at
Exactly,
large scale.
exactly. That's the need of the enterprises. They wanted everything under one umbrella. That is how they cater. Even though there is a pain for the users to start using it, it all depends on how you strategize.
Okay. Will this be applied both to B2C and B2B products?
When it comes to the product, yes. As I said again, what kind of market segments that we are when you are going to B2B, it is at the enterprise level, right? You need to have certain strategy. It is not being used by one user in an enterprise. There are different characters that comes into picture, different roles that comes into picture. How do you define this whole intersection between these roles and these modules and all? When it comes to B2C, it's an individual level. You have your own priority and you do it, right? So I can satisfy you with whatever functionalities that I have, but you don't collaborate with anyone as such. It's an individual way of doing it, and it all depends back to as I said, whenever you are building a product, what market segment that you are targeting. As I mentioned earlier, are you going for B2B, B2C, or B2B or B2C? So you need to understand the personas of the customers, right? What kind of users that you are onboarding. Based on that, your strategy has to be defined. Trust me, it went to extreme minute level as well. Whenever we are defining any product roadmaps, whenever we are defining any UX, UI, user journeys, and all of that, we consider the region, we consider the ethnicity, we consider the all these different factors of this user. When this product is being used by North American users, how should this look like? When it is being used by Asia Pacific users, how the UX and UI journey should be. If it is being used by a different continent, how should it be, right? Now if it is being used by Middle East, they'll probably be using their left hand, most of the time. It is completely
Okay.
different the way that you use on the right hand, right? So
Okay.
all of this needs to be considered. There is no other option. You need to create the comfort zone for the user rather than asking them use whatever that we have done. So if you
Hmm.
look at the some of the bulky enterprise systems in 1990s and early 2000s, they're not worried about the UX, UI, user journey and all of that, right? Very big boys. I don't want to name that. So you need to tune your business the way that they defined in their product, right?
Okay.
So they have defined certain process, they start implementing it, and you have to tune your business accordingly. Now
Okay.
all of that scenario has changed once we had the SaaS systems and all of that. Now
Hmm.
you can completely configure these portals in the way that you define your business. Okay, so that is where the simplicity, UX, and all of that would be considered. So that is where your strategy would work. You need to plan how you want. I wanted to build this product only for India. You have, we like bright colors. You
Yeah.
wanted everything flashy and all of that. You don't appreciate a candlelight dinners. Even if I go for a candlelight dinner, I literally say, look my menu. I'll open my light and do it. But if you look at the Western countries, and the candlelight dinner is, the most prevalent, right? They wanted the low light, not too brashy,
Subtle.
subtle, and all of that stuff. You need to have all of this be considered, while designing the product. And different age factors. Who are the customers for you, right? Is it if you are building a product for children, you need to have a different set of UX and UI, that
More
is more
funny,
funny.
funky,
You
and
don't
all
need
that.
to too much of learning curve involved and all of that. If you have a teenagers, or 16 years, 20, and 20 to 35, they can use any kind of system. Beyond 35 and 40, you need to be little cautious. If your customers are more than 50 years, you need to, be extremely careful in terms of how you are defining your roadmap, how you are defining your UX, UI functionalities, and all of that. uh, at that age, if you are introducing learning curve in your product, it's a dead journey again.
I know, yeah, that actually
Right.
implies. Okay. So I was not aware that, I mean, of course, you look at all the other factors when you're designing the UX part, but location wise also, you actually give it a thought in building the UX in it.
Absolutely, ma'am. So, there is no other option. It is not that, we tune the way that, identify the way where we would be successful. If a particular product is being successful in India, what we typically look at is what are they doing, and what are these items that are working for them. We need to start exploring it, copy it, mature it, implement it. You don't have a lifetime where you can sit and innovate everything, right?
Okay.
So, you need to always keep an eye on your competitors. They might have done a lot of things, invested a lot of time, explore, try to understand how they are doing it, replicate in your own manner. I don't say that control C and control V doesn't work in your product, but that would
Okay.
give you a perception in terms of what is working. You don't need to invest your time, you don't need to reinvent the cycle. Okay. Yes, there is no other option. Product dies when innovation dies, however big you are. you know Whatever that you have built, it would die one day if innovation is not a continuous activity.
Okay. Is that the major challenge, or do we have any more challenges while taking this product to customers?
Okay, so when you are taking a particular product to the customer, even going to the customer, my way of looking at when I'm building something, I'll visualize. I build a story, right? I build a story. I build a story in such a way that I have this functionality. How can I showcase this to my customer? And this is how I wanted to build a story to my customer. And my consensus says whether my story is convincing for me or not, right? So if it is not convincing, I don't do it. I don't do it because I was the
Okay.
one who needs to build that story and explain to the customer. If I'm not
Correct.
confident enough, I convince you, right? That is
Correct.
very important factor. If I'm extremely convinced, right, I don't need to worry at all because I'm extremely confident that I can build the story and explain it to our customer. So we need to consider all of this. At the end of the day, if you are assuming something as a pain to the customer, it always remains as an assumption. There are chances that it cannot be, it cannot be successful. As I am stressing it again, you need to keep talking to the people, you need to keep talking to the customer, you need to keep talking to them and get the 100 different perceptions from different prospects. Based on that, you need to evaluate. Okay.
Okay. So, when it comes to, as we discussed, it, levels of product development, POC, MVP, and then or people who have good amount of money or build the complete product and then try to sell. What at what level the fundraising becomes easy?
Okay. Let's do a role play here. I have 1 lakh in my pocket. You come to me. Uh, Ravi, I have a brilliant idea. I can disrupt this entire world. This is what I have done, and you don't have anything on your hand, right? Would I invest 1 lakh with in your idea? Okay. Very lean
Maybe,
chances.
maybe,
Very
yeah,
lean
maybe.
chances. I have a POC.
Mm.
A POC is not that you can give it to a customer and start using. This is something to validate your idea.
Validate, yes.
I have the same idea. I mean, I have the same amount in my pocket. You came with a POC and you are
Mm-hmm.
extremely enthusiastic. Probably compared to previous scenario, my confidence levels are slightly high.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have an MVP
Mm.
where I have very little early customers. My confidence levels goes little up. Okay.
Mm.
Now I'm in the growth phase. I have customers. Product is validated. I'm generating recurring revenue. Whether I would invest my money on that, the chances are high because
Mm.
there is no risk, major risk involved. It all depends on their risk appetites. Okay, so there are certain ideas where the investors just invest only on ideas. There are, whatever scenario that I have given is the most of the cases, right?
Most of the
So
cases.
this the idea is disruptive. Now
Mm.
we are talking about open AI and all of that.
Mm.
There was no LLMs and all. There were, but there was no proof or the way that it is being depicted now. It was not there before OpenAI.
Yes. Yeah.
I came to you with an idea. This is what I am planning to build. This is how it would come. Right?
Okay.
This is very exciting. I see a value. Right?
Mm.
I'll right away invest on it. I
Mm.
don't need a POC for it. I don't need a MVP for it and all. It all depends on the idea, right, at that point of time, and also depends on the market. How big this market is all about. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So similarly, if a person who gains certain amount of experience in the industry and trying to find a problem, identified a problem and trying to build a solution for it as a product. Now we have students who have identified problems at the college
Correct.
level and similar disruptive idea. They want to create something great product and all. Does their knowledge at that college level will be sufficient, or do they have to gain certain amount of experience, or do they have to do any short term learnings to build a product? How does that work at college level?
You take Google, you take Microsoft, you take any bigger organization. They started while they're studying.
Mm.
All of them are college dropouts, right?
Yeah.
So that enthusiasm and the right problem statement that you are picking and how you are planning to solve. No, you don't need experience to do that nowadays. You typically don't need. But to validate your idea, you need to do a lot of homework. Lot of homework in terms of meeting experts, the opportunities that we have in the market, the right mentor who can guide you. All of this that would help. Whether you are in 10th standard or in your undergrad or you are in PhD or you have a 30 years of experience, it doesn't matter when you are trying to solve a right problem in a right manner. As simple as that.
Okay. So you have to draw that chart of points where you self validate it,
Absolutely.
whether the product is worthy or not,
Absolutely.
before getting into the market, talking to industry
Correct.
experts and all
Correct.
that. Okay. I mean, we're not talking about the generic things, but personally, in your experience, what kind of challenges have you faced when you are actually developing the product, and then how to attract the customers? Because end of the day, after you develop the product, you need to go to the customers, right? They have to consume the
Correct.
product. So what kind of challenges have you seen?
Okay, so we have challenges every day, even till today.
Yeah, that's
So,
there in the day-to-day experience.
it's an interesting part. If you don't have challenges, you are doing absolutely wrong. Okay, absolutely wrong. So that's the end of the journey. You need to have problem every day. You need to have some or the other that should be coming. That's an indication that it is being used. That's an indication that someone is actually considering it and doing it. There are many opportunities, I would say, not challenge, right? So whenever we are building any particular product, there are a lot of aspects that needs to be considered. Not only just using a technology and building a product. That is hardly 20 to 30% of the whole journey. You need to identify, as I mentioned previously, you need to identify what segment of market that you are looking at, who are those ideal customers for you, whom to reach those customers, how are you catering this product to them, whether it is meeting to them or not, how quickly you are responding to your customer, right? I'm in the early stages of my product. I got one customer onboarded. He wanted certain things be changed, right? That is not how the industry works, or at least his business works and all. You have to be on your toes, right?
In your real time experience, when you're trying to, what kind of challenges actually you have encountered when you're trying to sell the product to the
Right.
customers?
So uh, when you are approaching a customer, you need to build a story. You need to build a compelling story, right? Most of the young entrepreneurs and the product owners and the sales guys that we have seen, right? They try to explain what they have in their product. I'll give a very classic example in a very layman terms. I went to a Balkrishna movie or a Pawan Kalyan movie. There are a lot of emotions. There are a lot of excitements, and all of that will be there in the movie. I watched that movie. I literally enjoyed it. I came to you. I'm trying to explain that movie to you. You don't feel the same, right? So you don't feel the depth of it. You don't feel there's emotions as part of it. When I'm trying to explain it as a brief scenario kind of stuff, and that has to relate to your real time things. So product is all about a story building, right? You need to build a story. You need to build a story while building your product. You need to build a story while you are explaining it to your customer. It is pretty easy to relate, right? So that is one factor that we need. Otherwise, it would be a plain explaining. You click on this, you will get it. You click on it, you will get it. You go
Okay.
here, this is what you will see, kind of stuff.
Okay.
You
Okay.
cannot engage the customers. That is one aspect that we need to be absolutely clear. Building of product is one aspect. How you are representing your product is a very important factor. That is one thing. And how you are engaging your teams, right? So whether you have right people at right positions, and how are they defining these is extremely important as well. So that is one factor, where we need to train your teams quite regularly, as your product is maturing day by day. And managing your finance, that is extremely important. you
Yeah.
you are all in an excitement phase. I have an idea, I built a product, I got the customer, they are very happy for it, but whether you are getting money out of it or not, that is where most of the beautiful products just die, right? So
Oh.
I build up one of the best products in the market. There are a lot of market that I captured. I have a huge number of customers, but I don't have an eye on my competitors. That is what we call it as an ostrich mentality. Ostrich mentality is something that I keep my head under the soil. I feel that this is too warm, I don't need to bother anyone, and some predator would be watching you to kill. That is exactly what happened with Nokia. Nokia is one of the best mobile brands in the world. There is no other brand which can beat them in terms of the flexibility, in terms of durability, in terms of everything. Still, Nokia is the best phone for me. But it just died in no time, right? Everything is right. So only aspect that they ignored was the competition. How the market is evolving, how the competitors are coming up, what are all the new things that they are coming up, whether these guys are pretty quick in adopting or not. They died in few years, 2 3 years. A mammoth
Yeah.
organization which is a market leader, just disappeared in no time. So there was a wonderful statement from the CEO of Nokia. It made my eyes wet. We didn't do anything wrong, but we lost. Simple. That's the life of an entrepreneur. You need to have 100 ears and 100 eyes watching in all the directions what is happening, and you need to make sure that you are adaptable to the market and to your customers. These are some of the challenges. There are quite a few. These are some of the prevalent ones.
Okay. Uh, then
Networking?
Yes, networking, we have to talk. Okay, I had one question related to that. Okay, so when you actually told that the founder or the product developer should be a storyteller, whoever sells the product to the customer. Now, do you cascade the same thing to your sales team? Because end of the day, in the initial phases, you would go and talk to the customers as a product owner. Now, when you expand, okay, when your wings expand, you will have your beautiful sales team and all. They should be eventually the same storytellers, and they should carry the same vibes to the
Right.
customers.
So your sales and support are the face of your company.
Yeah,
Right. So
correct.
what they talk, talk, how they deal with the customer defines the culture of our product, because they are the face of it, right? So they
Correct.
should be extremely good storytellers. That is what we train, right? At
Okay.
least if you are until growth stage. Once a brand is established, I don't say that they should not be storytellers and all of that. I'll give you a classic example. I built a car with the best of the best features and very modern comforts, everything. I marked it as Ravi car, and I have Mercedes Benz besides that car, which doesn't have not even 50% of features that I have it at the same cost. Probably my car is much lesser than that one, and you have, the price of Benz car, is the money that you have in your pocket. You go there and which one you buy,
Brand.
right? So once a brand is established, it's a mentality of the customer, right? I don't want
Okay.
to take risk. This is established. You
Okay.
need to build the trust with the customer. Brand is nothing but the trust. End of the day, right?
Correct.
You need
Okay.
to build the trust. As part of this journey, you need to build that story to create that confidence with the customer. That would be translated into trust. Once a particular customer starts using your product, in the initial days, your customer should be your sales guys. They are the ones who needs to endorse. If they are not doing it, it will not work out. You need to realign
Okay.
yourself. As
Okay.
simple as that.
How does branding help? As we discuss brand, yeah, you talk about a brand, but when your product comes, what kind of different branding options can you make to? I mean, you said one of them is definitely trust. Other ways to brand your product and make sure that you have good number of customers.
Okay. So brand is all about how you are tuning your customers. You got my point, right? Uh, Probably it might be a bad example, but I'll explain you. So you went to your Instagram, you have seen Ravi brand wherever you do it. What you do? Then you go to your Facebook. I also find Ravi brand there. I went to a newspaper. I see Ravi brand there. Then that creates some kind of curiosity. You buy it, and the other guys had a similar kind of experience. They also buy it. You both went out, and both are carrying the same brand. What do you feel? Wow, I have taken a right decision, right? Whether that particular product is maintaining that value or not. If you feel that it is not good, even after taking it, you resonate the same with your other friend also. They also start feeling, yes, she is right. That's the end of
Correct.
the road. There is no brand
Okay.
there, right?
Okay.
So now once the trust is established, okay, this is my expectation, and they meet my expectation. That's you have some confidence on this product. Once you start using it, that is how you have the trust factor increases. That is why you talk about it. And again, whenever you are building this brand thing, right, what kind of customer base that you wanted to target? Bench is not for everyone, right? You know why
Correct.
this most of these luxury brands are kept so much of cost. No,
Just to make sure that they have their
they have their
unique
customer base. So, no, I wanted to target only high-end customer base.
customers.
That is how I do my marketing. That is how I do my product. That is how I do my pricing strategy. Whatever it is, I don't want any middle-class guy, dare enough to step into my showroom. That is my strategy. Nothing wrong about it. So there are different factors. Basically, considering the segment of customers that we are targeting, trust is the most important factor. Whether you are building a brand, or if it is not a branded, or you are planning to build a brand, or whatever it is, end of the day, if you don't have a trust, or if the trust is not being established, it cannot go a long way.
Okay. And does networking help in terms of branding
Obviously, yes.
and sales, or taking your product to market? How does that
Yes.
help?
See, why Michael Jackson is a super dancer? Don't you think that we don't have any other dancers who is far better than him?
Absolutely.
They are right. You have a talent, you build a wonderful system, you should understand how you can showcase yourself and your product. There are hundreds of channels and hundreds of ways of doing it. Networking is extremely important, extremely important. I've seen beautiful products, beautiful entrepreneurs. They have built some of the best products in the market. Now, most of them couldn't able to market that, or not successful, because they don't have that entry point of doing all these networking events, right? You go there, you talk to a lot of like-minded people, or your prospective customers. You understand the whole scenario of the market when you are talking to different characters in the industry. Networking is extremely important. Without that, things will be slowed down. I won't say that won't be possible, but things would slow down.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any specific area where people do guidance on product development? Any networkings or clubs?
So there are quite a few. I would recommend you go there and click event product management events in Google. You will get 100, but be a little picky and choosy. In terms of who are the right peers that you find there, right? There are a lot of courses and all that are available. If I say, most of these people would hate me if I say it, right? Whatever that I see in PM books and product management books and all of that, most of the time I don't use it. I don't feel those are very effective, right? Product management or building a product is more of a common sense rather than anything. But you still needs to understand what is there in the book, right? So there was one instance, I'll explain in the early days of my career. I was working for one of the toughest customers in world's largest bank. There were a couple of technical leads who left the organization just because they couldn't bear the torture of this guy.
Okay.
So I was the chosen one. So I was the chosen one. So I was given a heads up. This guy is very demanding. The word that I got from my manager was rude, but after realizing it is more demanding, not rude as such. And this guy is very extremely important for them because it's a high revenue generating, and he's one of the top guy in the investment banking. So I asked my manager, see, I don't want me introduce it to the customer, at least for a week time. I wanted to be in the calls. I wanted to understand. I wanted to see his expectations and all of that. He's okay with that. So I went into the calls. Those were blistering calls. He was literally shouting at the other side. Typically, it happens in services, right? So absorbed, and then I got into the action. I was introduced. I was handling that entire project and all, and it was an open workspace. Like we don't have cabins and all of that. I worked for 3 days continuously, coding, building the functionalities, working 18 hours a day. I made sure it is delivered even at least 2 days before the committed date. I delivered it, and it is their responsibility to validate, test, and give us the thing. I waited the next 2 days also. I sent a reminder. I sent the reminder on the other day. We went into the call. I was literally shouting at my client. See, I put almost 86 or 90 hours without going home, considering the seriousness of it. From your tone, I delivered it. I wanted a validation so that I can cross check and deliver it to the production. I was literally shouting. My delivery manager used to sit at the corner of the development center. He literally, ran to me. Why are you shouting at client?
Mm.
You should never shout at client, right?
Yeah.
Is what the statement is. You trust me, I got an appreciation mail the next day, right? If you look at the books, you should not shout. You should, always be in a polite manner. You need to convince. You need to diplomatically handle. You should be, all of that stuff. At that moment, his intention was that we have to be at his pace.
Mm.
He is demanding, and we have to be like that. I put my effort, and I want the similar kind of expectation from you, right? I was the best employee for next 2 years, right? When he came to India, he sponsored my entire visit. He was here in India for a week. He wanted me to be with him for an entire week, fully sponsored. This is around 17 years back, fully sponsored. So you have to be street smart. You have to be. You should use your common sense. You should understand where to use principles and where to use your brain. Otherwise it doesn't work out. If a book says and you have to follow this book and it doesn't work out, it would be a disaster. That is what I advise to any manager. Those days are gone where you can dictate and people can listen to you. You have to be a servant leader. You have to understand what the strengths of your people. You have to tune your ways how you can make things done with your team. Some people would deliver only when you shout and put pressure on them. Some people would deliver only when you delegate and ask them to do it. Some people you don't need to do anything. You just give them and they deliver. Right? You need to understand these three characters in your team and tune your personality how you are doing it. As simple as that. If you are trying to use the same principle for everything, it doesn't work out these days. If you want to become a Tendulkar, you need to understand how to face all different varieties of 6 balls that you get in a over. If you are getting all 6 balls in a similar manner, anyone can be a Tendulkar, right? You need to understand that. So you have to be street smart. At the same point of time, you need to understand what are all the industry standard, that you have in the book, where to apply and all of that. I cannot go to my customer and talk in my own terms. This is how I do, this is how I do, this is what I shout, this is what... You have to talk what is there in the book which they could understand, right? So both aspects are extremely important.
It's an, let's say, it's a amalgamation of both.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Ravi. That was a great conversation on product development and startup on product development.
Absolutely, my pleasure, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.